Let's talk about free will, but probably not in the way you're used to. Today, we're going to explore a really fascinating argument that says free will isn't just debatable, it's actually logically impossible. And from there, we're going to imagine a world that completely rebuilt itself around that one idea. A world without blame, without outrage, and without punishment as we know it.
Okay, so let's dive right in. You know this feeling, right? We've all been there. The free will debate feels like this endless merry-go-round. You argue about cause and effect versus personal choice, and it goes nowhere. But the source material for this explainer does something brilliant. It just sidesteps that whole messy debate.
It asks this really powerful question. What if free will isn't some profound philosophical mystery we have to unravel? What if it's just a simple, logical mistake? Kind of like trying to imagine a four-sided triangle. It's an idea that sounds like it could exist, but it literally can't, because its own definition cancels itself out.
So part 1, the central contradiction. To really get this, we need to break down two key ideas first. What does it actually mean to be motivated, and what is a will, anyway?
Well, according to this framework, all motivation, and I mean everything, from an ant looking for food to you wanting a cup of coffee right now, it's all driven by a gap. It's that difference between where you are and where you want to be. And motivation is just the engine that exists to try and close that gap.
And this isn't just a cool theory, it's like a structural truth about how anything that has a goal works. It's so fundamental that there's no word in any language on Earth for the motivated pursuit of something you already have. That state has a totally different name. We call it contentment. And contentment is the absence of motivation.
Okay, and what about will? Well, in this view, will isn't some mystical abstract thought. It's the demonstrated act. It's the physical event of you actually doing something. And because it's a real physical event in the universe, it has to have physical causes. It's woven into the chain of cause and effect, influenced by everything from your memories to what you see in front of you.
And boom, here it is. This is the whole thing in a nutshell. This is the four-sided triangle we were talking about. For your will to even form, to exist at all, it requires causes, your memories, your desires, your perception of that gap. But for that exact same will to be free, it requires the total absence of those causes you didn't create. The two conditions are mutually exclusive. They logically erase each other.
So if we accept that it's a contradiction, what happens? I mean, what does a world that truly believes this look like? Let's get into the story from our source, the story of how a world completely realigned itself around this new understanding.
Now, the change didn't happen overnight with some big revolution. It was this slow, creeping realization. It really kicked off when the logical proof just went viral. And slowly, that constant background noise of social media outrage started to feel kind of, well, illogical. The idea of a free self pulling levers inside our heads became a running joke. They called it the George in the capsule metaphor, this idea of an empty little control room in the brain where this mythical free person was supposed to live.
And the biggest change by far was in the legal system. As you can see in this table, the entire goal shifted. It was no longer about punishing some imaginary free self. It was about recalibrating a causal system that had produced a harmful outcome. The old criminal trial, replaced by something called a phase state assessment. And the result wasn't about making someone suffer in jail. It was about adjusting the inputs that led to the behavior in the first place, a process they called re-optimization.
I mean, can you just imagine a judge who's now called a causal analyst saying this during a trial? It completely reframes justice. It says, look, you're not the ultimate source of your actions. You're the result of a million causes. Blaming you would be like whipping a clock because it's running fast. It just doesn't make sense.
So the practical result wasn't punishment, it was re-optimization. The whole focus became fixing the problem by adjusting the inputs that led to the harm. And that could mean anything from changing someone's environment to adjusting their neurochemistry.
Now, this led to some pretty wild new laws. I mean, if we're all just complex systems responding to inputs, then intentionally messing with someone else's system, deliberately causing them intense stress or alarm, that was seen as a kind of physical sabotage. They created a whole new crime for it. Phase state battery.
And here's a real-world example of how that worked. In this new society, a guy was arrested for what we'd probably just call trolling or a targeted harassment campaign online. But the charge wasn't harassment. It was unlawful causal manufacture. In their eyes, he had intentionally manufactured harmful inputs to sabotage another person's system.
Okay, so part 3. What does this all mean for us? Beyond the crazy new laws, how does this way of thinking actually change day-to-day life and how people see each other?
Now, this is absolutely crucial.
Choice and deliberation don't just disappear. They're still real. They're recognized as incredibly important causal processes that shape our world. The only thing that's gone is that unsupported metaphysical story we used to tell ourselves. You know, the myth that we're these little gods in miniature, making choices totally free from our own biology and history. And an amazing side effect is that society just gets quieter, becomes calmer, way less obsessed with outrage and blame.
And this really is the ultimate takeaway. In a world like this, you stop seeing other people as free agents to be judged or blamed. Instead, you start to see this collection of incredibly intricate, beautiful systems, each one just trying its best to navigate the chaos of the universe. It's a profound shift from judgment to understanding, and it leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? What would we gain, and what might we lose if we really started to see each other this way?